Go. Yeah, students go to class. Students go to class. All right. Good morning. Y'all get stuck with me. Oh, I got a little. Yes, I know the sub. Y'all can act up with the sub, right? Although I'm not going to make y'all move up and sit at the front. So, just saying. Okay. So, I can't remember. It's been a while. It's been a good long while since I did a little teaching, I think. A few months at least. So, Chris teaches very professor like. I enjoy his teaching, and it's very deep. I'm the youth leader, right? So mine's just fun. Okay, so I did this. I did a thing on like habitudes, and it's like the images thing. I don't know if y'all remember me kind of introducing that, and I don't remember the couple ones that we talked about the glacier. We talked about the starving baker, and today we're talking about hosts and guests. And it made me think about having that because this last weekend I had people at my house, so I had to be a host, and I had guests. So it's just kind of where it came from. So y'all, I hope it's just a good little lesson is all it is. It's probably not a whole lot of like biblical meat truth, so I just... Anyway, so, all right. See, we can take the initiative in a relationship. We are intentional about relationships. We see ourselves as hosts, not as guests, and go out of our way to connect with people and provide for them. Okay? This book is mainly geared towards college, young adult age folks, young leaders. So a lot of times it talks about leadership in this, but I am applying it as a Christian in general, and thinking about it in ways here at church. Because honestly, I'll just tell you right now, there's a lot of people that go to our church, and we've got, 15, 20 in here right now? Which a lot of them there's a lot of people who are teaching, I know that. But second service, normal church service, we get a lot more people who would never come to Sunday school. So y'all are like the cream of the crop. Y'all are the when you talk about preaching to the choir, right? So it's you guys. So y'all are kind of considered some more of the leadership and being welcoming and things like that, okay? So that's where we go to. All right, first starts out, while attending university in London years ago, one young man became interested in the Christian faith. Upon his graduation, he was almost convinced, but was still seeking evidence that his faith was practical and true. He accepted employment in East Africa and for 7 months lived in the home of a Christian family. As soon as he discovered they were followers of Christ, he decided their home would be the ideal testing ground for the evidence he sought. Unfortunately, as the months passed, he saw nothing that attracted him. The family was apathetic toward him and their faith. They didn't reach out to him or others. And they were casual about their commitments in general. In fact, they complained about any sacrifices they had to make on behalf of others. They never connected with him. Consequently, the student's interest in God turned to disappointment. He left his pursuit of Christ and went a different direction, and he moved back to his home in India. He eventually led a revolution. This young man was... Thank you. I don't know how to say his first name. Say it again. Mahatma? I would just call him Gandhi. So it was Gandhi, all right? Let's see here. Probably everyone in here would know who that is, age-wise. I'm thinking the kids back here probably wouldn't know who Gandhi is. So anyway. That family in Africa had no idea who was in their midst. These followers of Christ missed their opportunity to influence Gandhi, one of the most influential men of the 20th century, because they were poor hosts. They never connected with him. We know what a good host looks like, right? If I was your friend and I came to visit you, I bet you'd know what to do to be a good host, right? You would, I know, let's see here. Whose house have I been to? I've been to Beth's. I've been to Kathy's. I've been to the Laws. I've been to Jared's. I've been to John over here. My kid's been to your house, Joe. So, but when I walk in, would you like to have a seat? Can I get you something to drink? I'd like to visit with you. Let me get you this. Sometimes I go about like real estate stuff. And so, oh, I forgot a pen. Oh, let me get a pen, that kind of stuff. So, but we kind of know what to do. First of all, most of the time you don't just walk in, somebody knocks on the door, you answer the door. Unless you're at Pastor Barry's house, you just walk in there. So they don't have to answer the door there. But we do what other people, so that other people feel comfortable. Most of us appreciate a good host, and we feel it when that good host is missing. Have you ever been to somebody's house and you feel like you're imposing, or you feel like you're not wanted, and been in a room full of people that you felt completely out of place? No one greeted you, showed you around, or even asked you if you wanted something to drink. You probably thought about leaving, just like Gandhi. A good host would have made all the difference. Parties aren't the only place you'll find hosts and guests. He says, I've noticed every relationship and every conversation has both a host and a guest. People seem to find their place in discussions as either the proactive guide as the host, or one responding as the guest. So here's the catch. Most people view themselves as guests in life. We expect others to make the first move, but a host knows better, and a leader knows better. We know better. We take the initiative and think like host. Their focus isn't on themselves, but on others. In fact, when it comes to relationships, the first step a leader takes is to become a host, not a guest, wherever they are. This is rule number 1. Good leaders don't depend on their position to get the job done. They leverage personal power, not positional power, with people. It's been said that some folks make you feel at home, while others make you wish you were. Been around those people? I've been around both. I probably have been both, unfortunately, okay? If you want to be a great host in a relationship, you'll need to do the following things. So we're going to talk about 4 different things, all right? How many of you guys would say that you're like people-y people? People-y person? Yeah, you're a people-y person. Anybody else? Do what? I agree. The introvert, extrovert, people talk about that a lot. I was very extroverted. And I think as you get older, you just kind of, I don't know, your circles get smaller and some things like that. But also depend on the kind of job you do and things like that. I know, like, especially when I've done, when I've been real busy in real estate and I talk to strangers all day, or I talk to people I barely know all day, it's really hard for me to want to be engaging and extroverted at other times. So one of the worst things I hate is like when I have to be in a car by myself with somebody that I barely know. Oh, yeah, here's Midland College. There's a junior high right down there. Oh, Dos Compadres, that's a good place to eat. Like playing the host or whatever. When I barely know somebody, telling them about Midland and everything, because I know, not because I don't like to talk to them and I don't like to do it, it's because I know that it's going to completely drain me by the end of the day. And I'll just be completely exhausted. So none of y'all are very people-y people other than a couple of... John Giahami did not raise his hand for being a people-y person. Oh, you kind of? Yeah. We know Barry's a people-y person, right? Have you, like, your first Sunday here, did he chase you out in the parking lot and ask you if you want to go to lunch? Because that's the kind of stuff he does, right? Because Barry's a host, okay? Because he's our leader, but he's also ingrained to do that as him, right? So the first thing, we've got to initiate. I know, isn't that a scary word for all you non-people-y people? Are you not? I think Joe's a people-y person too. You didn't raise your hand. Depends on the day. Okay. And when you've got three little boys at home talking your ear off, it's really hard to want to be a peoply person. Yep. I know. So, because after my kids talk to me all day long, I don't want to talk to anybody. So, anyway, all right. Good hosts take initiative with their guests. They greet them at the door, offer to take their jackets, start up conversations. As a result, their guests feel welcome and become responsive. Good hosts make others feel like the most important person in the room. It works the same way in daily relationships. When we make the first move, others tend to let down their guard and engage with us. But it takes initiative to put our part to get the ball rolling. We have to go first. Sometimes we fail to host by saying, well, I'm the leader, they can come to me. All right, that's what a lot of people think. They can come to me. Other times we may fail because our antennas simply aren't up. We become so caught up in the busyness of life, we neglect those around us. I remember, Randy doesn't know I'm telling this story, but I remember she told a story about we were providing a meal for somebody or something like that, and she said that when it went out, she was like, oh, I just don't have time to do that. And the Holy Spirit convicted her and said, you're putting things that are not important in front of things that are important. So she put that aside and she took the meal to whoever it was. I don't know if it was somebody at church. It was a while back that she told me this story, but so many times we get so busy, we get so stuck in our own little world that we don't see others around us. I know for me personally, like when people come to church, I used to be that person. If you walked through that door, I knew who you were. I knew your name. I knew where you worked. I knew how old your kids were. I probably know your birthday, Like that's just kind of how I was. A new person walk in, I'm going to go talk to them. Kim and Barry sometimes have been like, hey, who's that person that came in, blah, 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 at one point. Now, some of that brain power has shifted with having a 4-year-old. I don't have as much brain power to do that anymore, to know everything. When somebody new comes in the door, I'm like, have they been here before? I know. So tell me your name again, the purple. Jenny? Yeah, okay, so one day in Sunday school, I'm not joking. I'm sitting here and Jenny's sitting right behind me. I turn around and go, oh, are you new? And she goes, oh, no, we've been coming. And I go, okay, great. And then the rest of her family came in. I go, oh, it's because you sit over there all the time. So anyway, I was not being a very good host at that point because I didn't realize that somebody who just switched seats wasn't brand new, okay? But it's because I get caught up in busyness. I get caught up in doing some other things here at church that I think is more important than what it really is, which is our family that's here, our family of faith here. All right. He tells a story about Joanne. Joanne, not Joanne Weinkauf, Joanne Jones, discovered one day when her professor asked the class an unexpected question. During the second month of nursing school, our professor gave us a pop quiz. I was a conscientious student and had breezed through the questions until I read the last one. What is the first name of the woman who cleans the school? Surely this was some kind of joke. I had seen the cleaning woman several times. She was tall, dark-haired, in her 50s. But how would I know her name? I handed in my paper, leaving the last question blank. Before class ended, one student asked if that last question would count towards our grade. Absolutely, said the professor. In your careers, you will meet many people. All are significant. They deserve your attention and care, even if all you do is smile and say hello. I've never forgotten that lesson. I've also learned that her name was Dorothy. So there you go. It's really easy to look over people when you see someone every single day. So the first thing we need to do is initiate. And, for some people, the initiating isn't necessarily, you got to go have a deep 30-minute conversation with them. Like, especially here at church, saying hello to somebody, especially saying hello to somebody who's new, tell them where the coffee is, tell them that's your seat and you can't sit there. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that. Telling them about Sunday school, telling them, where the kids department is. And maybe you're like, I've only been going here like a month. I don't know any of this stuff. But you know people who do. You can take them back to the desk and let them know who you are. if you're interested in doing any of those kinds of things at all, like greeting, helping at the Welcome Center, be sure to go see Heather as well, because that's a good front door to maybe step out of your comfort zone a little bit, okay? All right. So first thing we got to do is initiate. Second thing we got to do is connect. Good hosts connect with their guests. They do their best to help them feel comfortable and at ease. They're always trying to find common ground with others. Instead of dominating conversations, they focus on others and let them be the main attraction. They know it's not about them, it's about creating an environment for others to feel at home with them. The Walt Disney Company seems to have an intrinsic understanding of how important this is. Everything it does is centered on creating happy experiences for others, especially children. I've never been. Is that true? For those of you who've been to Disney? Is that true? Okay. In fact, they refer to all customers as guests and treat them accordingly. I have a friend that works in the Imagineering department. He once told me Disney employees are always expected to go above and beyond the basics when hosting others. For example, if a child drops her lollipop on the ground and begins to cry, any employee is authorized to run to the nearest gift shop and buy a new one on the spot, with company picking up the bill. Disney understands the importance of connecting with others. When they say be our guest, they really mean it. Connecting with others is important, but let's be honest, it's not always easy. It's not. Some of us, I have like the gift of gab. I could probably have a conversation with anybody that's in here, right? Okay? It's just kind of, it's a personality thing as well. But making a connection with somebody and taking it a little deeper, it does take a skill. So connecting with others is important, but it's not always easy. As you strive to be a better host, you're bound to run across people who are very different from you. You'll find yourself saying things like, I've tried to be friends, but I just don't have anything in common. We always end up arguing. It's just not worth the effort. It can be tempting to throw in the towel, but instead try the 101% principle. Find the 1% you have in common with someone and devote 100% of your attention to it. Maybe you both enjoy tennis, the same music, the love of sports, whatever it is. Zero in on it. It may take some time and effort to discover that 1%, but you'll be glad you did. So my joke with John Hunt, which he's not here, is we went to church together for a long, long time before we did youth ministry together, and our joke was always we're only friends from August to January during football season, because we could talk about football at any time. But I literally would find myself, man, I would come into August and we'd start talking. I'm like, man, I haven't talked to you in a while. And he's like, yeah, probably since January, you know. So, but that's how it was. And John Hunt and I do the youth together, so we became friends that way. But that to me, that was a good example of how you find something maybe in common with someone and be able to have a conversation with them. So. Let's see here. So initiate, connect, provide. Good hosts provide for their guests. They prepare delicious meals, plan engaging activities, and anticipate the needs that may arise. As a result, their guests become satisfied and look forward to a return visit. We play a similar role. They meet the needs of those around them and look for ways to benefit them. So, you know, when people come to church, we're not always having a meal. Sometimes we're having the chili supper, right? That's always fun. But when they're not, somebody's coming into church, we want to make them feel welcome. Go have a cup of coffee, grab a donut. Let me show you where you can take your kids. We want for them to feel welcome, looking for ways to benefit them, for them to benefit, not us, but for them to benefit, so that they look forward to coming back. So I want people to come to church because I love our church. There's a lot of places to go to church in Midland, and a lot of really good churches in Midland. And I'm not saying anything against any of the churches. But we want somebody who maybe doesn't know God very well, who maybe stepped away from the church, but they're coming back. We want them to have, what's the right word? Like a good taste in their mouth when they leave the orchard. Not a donut, because those donuts are fine, but they're not like, you know. But we want them to go, those are good people, Maybe God's not such a bad guy. Um, when we start looking, it's amazing how many needs there are around us. When we start leading, it's amazing how many people we can meet. One of the great needs today is relational leadership. People today are crying out for relational leaders, leaders who connect with their hearts, not just their heads. It's no longer enough to just be competent and have strong character. To lead effectively, you need to have strong people skills as well. That's a little bit about what this book is about. We want to add value to others. You know, we don't want you just to come to our church because we think you're going to give money. That's some churches' mindset, though. That's not what our church is about, though. We want to see what we can do for them, right? Maybe that they can connect with God a little better. And we can do that by connecting with them. A friend once told me, I don't remember what someone does or how well they did it. I remember how they made me feel. It's a great thing for us to remember. I don't know how many times I've heard it. People don't care what you know until they know how much you care. So we've got to show people how much we do care. So we've got to initiate, connect, provide, and direct. Okay? Good hosts give direction to their guests. They help them know when the party starts, the location, how to get there, and what to expect once they arrive. They don't make others figure it out on their own. As a result, the guests receive guidance. Leaders direct others as well. They know that others are looking for them on clarity which way to go. So just like, random person decides they want to come to church, well, I mean, we've got a sign out there, but we let people know what time church starts. How many of y'all looked online before you came to church the first time? Most people? Miss Ruth, you didn't look on the interwebs to find out about the orchard? I know. But, it has all that information on there. What time church starts, what time Sunday school, all of the, does it have about casual dress or not? Does it say anything about that? Although so many churches are casual now. Like, I bet my grandmother's rolling over in her grave that I'm wearing shorts to church on Sunday morning, right? So, because some of that changed so much in the 2000s. Anyway, but, people need to know, like, what to do. Again, hey, go by the Connection Center. Go have a cup of coffee. Grab a donut. Come have a seat. Sit next to me. All right? Any of those kinds of things. Although, I'm not so sure I would be a sit next to me person. I'd like to be. I'd like to think I was that person. But sometimes, I don't know. Anyway, depends. I don't want them sitting in my spot. I'm just kidding. I really am joking about the spot thing. Okay. Beyond simply telling others what to do, leaders provide direction in the following ways. Suggesting a variety of options for facing a dilemma, for those facing a dilemma. Giving resources and instruction based on past experience. Helping others do a self-discovery on their own, guiding them along the way, placing others in contact with key people to help them on their journey. I don't know how many times I've talked to somebody and helped them with something, I mean, here's the thing, like somebody would come in talking to somebody and they have a problem with their car. I'd go talk to Billy. You should talk to Billy. Billy knows what to do about all that. I don't know anything about cars. If somebody needs some electrical work, I'd say, go talk to Travis. If somebody has some, like, we need some counseling or something like that, I'd say, go talk to Haley Law. She works at Sinners. That's the kind of stuff that we need to know what to do, okay? And not only just think it. How many times do you think about, I should have told them to call so-and-so. Oh, I should have told them to blah, blah, blah. Do y'all ever think that? There's nothing wrong with saying it. It's helping connect with somebody. Okay. This is a good one. Josh, you should listen to this. Okay. Because it's a man that wrote this, all right? Tim Elmore, all right? So here we go. Years ago, I decided I was going to be a host, not a guest, in the relationships of my life. This is a challenge for me because I'm a natural introvert. I am tempted to be passive in relationships and let others take this first step. Even in my family, instead of vegging in front of the TV watching ESPN, I try to host my wife and kids. Are you ready? Are you listening? Okay. A few years ago, I surprised my wife with a Valentine's weekend to Paris. He says I got a great deal on the tickets. Anyway, I don't really want to go to Paris, but you could surprise a trip. Okay. We toured museums, ate crepes, toured the Eiffel Tower, and laughed a ton. It was an unforgettable weekend. On the flight home, I asked my wife her favorite part of the trip was. After reflecting for a moment, she smiled and said, I think it was simply that you took the initiative on everything, from the travel to the hotel to the babysitting responsibilities. You were the host. You were the leader. And that's when it hit me that maybe hosting and leading go together. So even in our own families, we need to think about being the host, especially dads, dads and husbands. I think that moms take care of so many things, wives take care of so many things that sometimes dads take a back burner, and we want you to be involved. We want you to take the initiative. So that was a good example of a husband taking an initiative to be a host, to be a leader, to take care of some things in life. And that's what this whole book is. That's what this whole lesson's about, is that you don't just let people do for you. You try to take and do things for others. So, all right. We're going to look at a couple of verses in the Bible. The Bible has a lot to say when it comes to hospitality. Both the Old and New Testaments are full of examples of what a great host looks like. So we're going to check out these passages, and then I got a couple of questions. Let me open my phone. My phone's so old that the face thing, where you open it with your face, it doesn't work anymore. So anyway, I need a new phone, Josh. Take initiative. Okay, there you go. All right. So Luke 14:12 through 14. All right. Let me read it for us. It says, Then Jesus said to his host, when you give a luncheon or a dinner, do not invite your friends, your brothers or your sisters, your relatives or your rich neighbors. If you do, they may invite you back and you will be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed. Although they cannot repay you, you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. All right, so the question is, what principle was Jesus getting at here? Helping the poor? Yep. Selfless? Yeah. Being selfless? Yep. What else?
Not to do things to get something back, but do it out of your heart.
I like that, Ruth. That's right. I heard somebody else start to say something. Reaching out. I think about, the people he let's see, invite the poor, crippled, the lame, the blind, the people that probably get overlooked, in that you could put in a whole bunch of other people. The weird, like in our world, the weird, maybe the old, the foster kid. Those are all kind of some groups that get overlooked at times. So, okay. Anything else? Those are all great answers. But yeah, when you do something so they'll do something for you, isn't that called something? Yeah, so, okay. And then the next one is in Genesis 18, 1 through 8. Let me read this for us real quick. It's about Abraham. The Lord appeared to Abraham near the great trees of Mamre, while he was sitting at the entrance to his tent in the heat of the day. Abraham looked up and saw 3 men standing nearby. When he saw them, he hurried from the entrance of his tent to meet them and bowed low to the ground. He said, "If I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, do not pass your servant by. Let a little water be brought, and then you will wash your feet and rest under the tree. Let me get you something to eat so that you can be refreshed and then go on your way. Now that you have come to your servant." "Very well," they answered. "Do as you say." So Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah. "Quick," he said, "get the 3 seahs of the finest flour and knead it and bake some bread." Then he ran to the herd and selected a choice, tender calf and gave it to his servant, who hurried to prepare it. He then brought some curds and some milk and the calf that had been prepared and set those before them. While they ate, he stood near them under the tree. All right. It says Abraham hosted. What motivates someone to take initiative and be a host? You should see, yeah, you see the need. What else? Honoring your guests. What else? So you can tell I'm a youth leader because I make people answer. Renee? Showing love to someone who might not be easy to love. Do you think we're ever not easy to love? I know I am. Poor Josh. I know I am. So it means a lot to me when somebody takes the initiative with me. Okay. And then 1 Peter 4:9 says, "Be hospitable to one another without grumbling." What effect does a bad attitude have on a good host? What kind of attitude do hosts need? What effect does a bad attitude have on being a good host? Brings you down. Puts everybody in a bad mood. Yep. Sure can. Anybody else? Makes you not feel welcomed? Yep, that's so true. I know that, I don't know if y'all know this, but I'm like kind of inclined to being grumpy. It's the Gunter in me, okay? That it's a funny, I don't know, personality quirk, I guess you could say, that there's been times where I'm like, I do not want to go to that. And then I go and I enjoy it, and guess what gets, I'm out of my funk. You know, I don't know how many times I've been like, this is so dumb. I don't want to do this. We had pictures for work a few weeks ago, John, that you didn't go to. And I was so grumpy about it, and I didn't want to do it. And then it turned out so great, and I was really excited that I was able to participate, John. But, you know, when you have a bad attitude, just like if you're standing at the front door waiting for people to come in to church and you have a bad attitude about something and not happy, that's their first impression about how church is going to be. You know, if, they bump into you with their coffee and you turn around and yell at them, probably, isn't such a great thing. I wouldn't like having coffee spilt on me either, but, we can maybe have a better attitude sometimes about things, especially if we're already in a bad attitude. If you're already in a bad mood and something bad happens, how come your shirt and your pockets and stuff never get caught on the door handle when you're in a good mood, right? Like I'm in a bad mood already and my pocket gets stuck on a door handle and I'm like, oh my gosh, could things get any worse? Anyway, but when I'm happy, it's like it never gets caught. I don't know, why is that? Okay. Let's see here. It says, what effect is having a bad attitude on being a good host? If you don't want somebody around, people can tell. And you can turn around and say, oh, it's just my personality. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. But we can have a good attitude even if you don't have a overly welcoming personality. What kind of attitude do hosts need? Cheerful, welcoming. I don't think you have to be, you know, what is that word? Bubbly. I don't think necessarily you have to be a bubbly personality to be a good host. All you have to do is care about somebody else and their feelings and how they're feeling. So, I hope that today we're almost out of time. I hope that today you think a little bit about being a host, maybe here at church, maybe at home, maybe at work, this week in your life, that you can be welcoming to others, that you can host people. I know. And hopefully pointing them to a God that loves them. And anyway, I don't know. I didn't know how I was going to wrap it up because the question ended and then I don't know what to do. So it's like, anyway, I'm just a big goofball, anywho. And yet they still ask me to teach. So I hope that y'all have a good week and that y'all look for maybe somebody new this morning that you don't know that you can say hello to. That's my challenge to all of you introverts in here who I know are semi-introverts, for you to talk to one person that you may not necessarily know. You may have said hello to them, but you don't know them very well. All right, let me pray, and then y'all get ready for church. God, thank you so much for this day. I thank you so much that we get to come together and worship you and honor you today, God. I pray that each of us can look beyond ourselves a little bit this week to learn how maybe we could do something for someone else. God, we love you. We thank you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right. Thank y'all.